Hi guys, it's Paige and I'm back with another video for you guys. So today I'm going to be doing something that is a little bit different. So today we're going to be talking about self-care. So something that I think most of you guys who come across this video may not know about me is that I am a clinical therapist. So I am a licensed clinical social worker, and self-care has been something that has been a renewed focus for me in my life. Particularly in the profession that I'm in, self-care is just something that's extremely important. On top of that, I've mentioned in a few videos, but I am also a law student. I'm in my last semester of law school, which I am extremely grateful for. So that also adds a huge chunk of, responsibilities to my plate. But also I have been recently diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder. So that has made what was already just a difficult load to carry and manage all at the same time just that much more difficult. So praise God that this is my last semester. But anyway, it's really something that is absolutely necessary for me to be mindful of, taking care of myself so that I'm able to get through this semester. So I thought that I would do a video this week just talking about the steps that I take. So I've kind of narrowed it down to 5 steps that I personally use to just practice self-care. I also thought that this video could be helpful as well because of course you can find tons of videos on YouTube about self-care. You can find videos from perspectives of people who are in need of self-care, that are practicing self-care, but you can also find that perspective from other clinicians and mental health professionals that talk about just from a professional standpoint of how to practice self-care. And I thought this could be like a good mixture of the two, talking about just more practically the need for self-care that I have personally and how I handle that as a professional, if that makes sense. So the first step that I have on my list are boundaries. So I think boundaries are so important because I think it's really the foundation of being able to practice self-care, because you can have all the good intentions in the world, but if you're not able to set boundaries and really carve out that time and attention towards yourself, then you're always going to be pulled in a different direction and you're never going to have the time to really take care of yourself. So it's important that we have a healthy balance of boundaries. We don't want to have boundaries that are too porous, where we're letting too much in, right? And we're not really prioritizing ourselves. We're prioritizing the needs of others all the time. But we also don't want to have boundaries that are too rigid, right? Where we're not really letting people in at all, because that is going to really impair the amount of support that we'll get from other people. And I'm going to talk about that later. So you want to make sure you have that balance, which is not always so simple to do, right? I think boundaries can also just be internal when it comes to just validating your own needs, right? And being able to prioritize yourself, right? And if you have people around you that are unhealthy or people that are abusive, they're gonna cross your boundaries. And if you're not able to set those boundaries, that's just gonna add more stress in your life rather than eliminate it or help you cope with it. So the next step that I have on my list is taking care of yourself. So one of the things that I've been doing more recently, more often, is just eating healthier and exercising more often. And those two things just by themselves have helped me feel just a whole lot better. I think taking care of yourself, whether it be just care of your physical health, whether it be working out or eating healthier or whatever you need to do to take good physical care of yourself, I think that is twofold, right? So first, you know, if your body feels better mentally, you're going to be feeling better. And I think it also can be something that you can point to, that you're doing well, that you're succeeding at, in spite of the challenges that you're having. And that can be something that I think can help you feel better, right? But I also think that it can be a good coping strategy, right? So when I find myself feeling really stressed out, cooking really helps me stay in the moment. It helps me to focus on what I'm doing. It makes me feel happy, you know, enjoying what I'm cooking, enjoying eating it. And then there's no guilt after eating it if I'm cooking a healthy meal. And it just makes me feel good doing that. Exercise absolutely can help your mental health as well. It's a way to let off some steam. It can help you cope with negative emotions and anger or stress or anxiety that you're feeling. There's so many different benefits of just being active, not just to your physical health, but it also translates to your mental health. So I think that it's so important that you're making that a daily habit to do at least one of the other, or finding a way to take better care of yourself every day and implement those practices in your life. Okay, so the next step that I have, I think is so important, especially during this pandemic, and that is to lean into a diverse support system, emphasis on diverse support system. So I think one of the things that can happen when you're going through a really stressful or difficult time or some type of crisis, it can really end up putting strain on the other relationships in your life. Not always, but it can. And I think one of the reasons why that happens is because sometimes the demand of our needs is just too great for that one individual or few individuals to really carry, right? So I think it's just so important that, one, we're asking for help, right? And that we're legitimizing the need that we have for help, and we're leaning into a, you know, safe places in a supportive system. And I'm going to talk more about what that can be, but also that we make sure that we have a diverse support system. So one of the things that I always try to be mindful of personally is making sure that I am not projecting my needs onto other people, right? So I like to let people be what they can be to me, and I lean on them no matter what the type of relationship is, based off of what they have shown me they can be to me, right? And I think a lot of times when we have needs, we may just assign responsibilities or expectations on people based off of our needs and based off of their titles in our lives and our expectations about, for example, this is my spouse, this is what a spouse should be doing, or this is my best friend, this is my idea of what a best friend should be doing to me, instead of really analyzing, I guess you can say, whether or not this person is actually equipped or good at meeting those needs. And I think it can help keep relationships intact when you're going through a really particularly stressful time, instead of leading to more conflict and more disappointment and stress when you're going through just a difficult time, or it could even just be a bad day, right? Or a bad week that you're dealing with in your life, right? That being said, it's important that we have safe places to go to, right? And places that we can lean on, because I think that makes a world of a difference. I think when we're isolated, I like to think of it as just like a big canvas, like a painting, right? And say there's a blemish that we have on that canvas, right? And that can represent a difficult moment or a challenge or a loss or crisis that is in our life, right? And when we're isolated, we can have a tendency to just really focus on that difficult spot, right? And that blemish on that painting, right? Instead of taking the step back and looking at things in perspective, right? And looking at the entire painting, right? And realizing that, yes, we're going through this moment, but things weren't always like this, and they're not going to always continue to be like this, right? And I think when we have people around us, that can help us to keep things in perspective, right? So who can we rely on for those support systems, or what are our safe places? Of course, that can be our family. If you have a spouse or a significant other, it can be that person. It can be friends. It can be support groups, right? I'm a strong proponent of therapy. I'm a therapist, and I also have a therapist. I think everybody needs a therapist. You don't have to have some significant mental health issue to benefit from therapy. I think anybody can benefit from therapy. But if you don't want to do therapy, having like a life coach or some type of mentor, either professionally or spiritually, I think can really help you to keep things in perspective and give you that safe place to express yourself and to really lean on. And I think that it's really important. And sometimes it's just not always easy to be vulnerable, to acknowledge that you need help, and to, you know, take that step and have the courage to ask for help. Lastly, I also think spirituality, for me personally, and if you are a person of faith, that for me is just one of the strongest points of my support system. I think the benefit of having of being a person of faith is that it gives you a larger perspective, right? It gives you that ultimate safety net, right? That we can lean on a higher power, that we can trust in a higher power, that we're going to be taken care of, that things are going to work out for our good in the end. And that's something that I always even remind my clients that are people of faith, that to really lean into that in addition to their support system. That being said, don't replace faith with the need for therapy or the need for people, because those are different support systems that meet different needs. And that is why it is so important that we have a diverse support system, right? And that we're not just leaning on different areas, and we're, you know, leaning on different sources in our lives to meet the different needs that we have as human beings. I also feel like I should note, because I think that the pandemic has displaced a lot of people. I know for me personally, being in school, because I work, I'm an evening student. This is my 4th year in law school, and thankfully my last. But in addition to the pandemic and just not having a lot of free time anymore, that has really kind of displaced a lot of relationships in my life, and just life, right? Has displaced relationships in our life. And during the pandemic, it's not been really easy to gain new relationships. And I know that a lot of people are also in that same boat, right? So I think especially when you're not dealing with just a really stressful point in your life, this is a time that you want to start to build that diverse support system. If they're networking events or organizations or clubs or associations that are geared towards interests or whatever that you have, lean into those things and work towards gaining relationships with other people, or rekindle or reach out to relationships that are already present in your life, so that you can work towards building those processes. And again, it's a long process. It's not about just, oh, this person is nice, I have this need, let me place this expectation on this person. It's a process, and I think it's always important to be mindful of building those safe places. So the fourth step that I have is validating your own needs, right? So I feel like maybe this one should have went first, right? Because you can't really ask for help, right? You can't lean into a support system if you're not able to validate your own emotional needs, right? So I think that it's very easy for us to validate our physical needs because they don't make us feel as vulnerable, right? We all need shelter, we need a warm place to be, right? We need food, we need water, right? But we also have emotional needs that are just as legitimate, right? And we need to feel loved, we need to feel seen, heard, accepted, all of those wonderful things, right? And we each have those needs, and it's important that we're in tune, right? With those needs so that we're not acting on that need in a way that is unhelpful or unhealthy for us, right? So you can't really do any of this, I don't think, if you're not able to validate your need for rest, right? Your need for comfort, right? If you're not able to just accept that you need those things, right, and validate that as a legitimate need versus something that makes you weak, right, or something that is not important, something that I can push off to later, something that maybe I don't need to bring up or I can just minimize because it helps me to avoid conflict, right? That's going to have you operating as a deficit, and it's just going to lead to more problems over time if you're not able to really just say, you know what, I feel lonely, or I'm feeling sad and I need to feel heard, right? Or I need to express myself. So yeah, I think that is so important that you're able to do that. So the last one, and I think my favorite one on this list, is to be kind to yourself, right? Which sounds like a simple concept, but it's really not that simple, right? If you're really doing it on a regular basis. So one of the things that I try to do for myself every single day is to do something kind for myself every day. And it's been something that I have had to like really be intentional about thinking about and focusing on every single day, right? So that can mean so many different things to different people, right? One, it should not be something that, first of all, being kind to yourself does not mean going home and getting a drink. It doesn't mean that, oh, I had a hard day, I deserve this bowl of ice cream. It doesn't mean that, oh, I had a hard day, I deserve to, you know, go buy me a new bag or whatever, right? So if you know that there's a weakness, right, in certain areas, or an area where you kind of act not always in the most helpful or healthy way, then you probably want to stay clear of that, right? Because that can become a dangerous cycle, right? If you're rewarding yourself with alcohol or you're rewarding yourself with food, for example. That being said, I think it can be as simple as maybe buying yourself flowers one day, right? The next day, it could just be watching your favorite show, right? And maybe there's something that you could be doing that maybe you don't necessarily have to be doing, right? Or you could tell somebody, you know what, I really can't do this right now, and take that time to just relax and watch your favorite movie, or watch a new movie that you wanted to see, or your favorite TV show, right? It could be taking time to read a book, lighting your favorite candle. It could be maybe today I'm gonna really take the time to wear one of my favorite outfits, or to put makeup on, or to take more time doing my hair, or something as simple as that. Maybe I'm going to carve out time for me to really cook a nice meal for myself, and a nice healthy meal for myself, and enjoy that. It's going to be something different for everybody. For me, it's just like really doing things that I find relaxing, doing things that normally, like prior to law school, I would spend more time doing, like paying more attention to my hair or my skin, or I don't know what clothes I'm wearing, instead of just rushing out the door and just throwing some clothes on. those are the things that for me personally make me feel good and make me feel like I'm being kind to myself, but that may not mean something to the next person. So I think that's something that you have to do some self-reflection on and find out what works for you. So I hope this video has been helpful for you guys, and I hope that there's at least one thing that each of you can take away from this video and start to be more intentional about implementing in your life. So let me know if you guys like this video and if you want to see more self-care or mental health related videos on my channel. Also, let me know how you guys practice self-care. What are some things that you guys do to just show kindness toward yourself, or ideas that you have, because I would be interested in hearing about those things. And make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye.